Hello, welcome to our course. I am your professor, Joe Cobbs, and I am excited for what we have coming up here over the next few weeks. I'm also known as Dr. Green Shoes, and even though we're in the online environment, not only do I have green shoes on, which maybe you can see here, I've got my green kicks on, I've also got my green shirt on today. There is a story behind the green, and it is not related to sports, but I'll keep you in suspense for now. A little bit about my own background. I will use sort of my LinkedIn profile here to help just run through this rather quickly. But I did work in sports for quite a few years before I decided to go the full-time professor route. I have been at NKU now since 2010, so for several years. Before that, I was at the University of Massachusetts, where I earned my PhD. And before that, I was the director of marketing for Miami Athletics. That's Miami of Ohio. And yes, I was there with Ben Roethlisberger. I even have my Miami football signed Roethlisberger helmet here. But don't worry, it doesn't mean I'm a Steelers fan. I'm certainly not a Steelers fan. But because of Roethlisberger, the Red Hawks had a very good football team at the time I was there as a marketing director, which was nice for me. It made my job that much easier to have such a good squad at the time. Before that, I worked in Detroit. General Sports and Entertainment is a sports marketing company that has a sponsorship division that I worked in, where I represented several clients in negotiating their sponsorship accounts, mostly with Detroit or Detroit area teams or other teams based in Michigan, although we did do some work outside of the state on behalf of our clients. I got my master's degree at Ohio State, where I also worked in the athletic department. So yes, I am a Buckeyes fan. Hopefully you can get over that if you are not. And here you see my education. I sort of already mentioned some of that. I also worked for the Detroit Pistons for a while. I took a semester off when I was an undergrad back in the 1990s, quite a while ago, and worked as a full-time intern for Palace Sports and Entertainment, who owns the Detroit Pistons. That was when Grant Hill was a player on the Pistons, and Joe Dumars, those of you that are big basketball fans, might recognize his name. He was still a player on the team back then, so I'm dating myself somewhat with that reference. I also do quite a bit of research, and have published quite a bit, mostly in the area of sponsorship or rivalry, some of which we might talk about later in the semester. A lot of my sponsorship interest is in motorsports, specifically in Formula One, which is not quite as popular here in the United States, but is the most popular motorsport around the world. For those of you that are not motorsports fans at all, Formula One cars look a little bit like this. Obviously, this is just a toy scale model. But they're open wheel cars. Indy car is what you might think of them as, although they're much more expensive and a little bit more high tech than your Indy cars. And you see lots of sponsorship, of course, on the side. You probably can't really read that too well in the video, but that's Mobil One Oil, which is a sponsor of the McLaren team. This is an older McLaren car here. So I study how sponsors get return on their investment and the pricing of those sponsorship agreements, and how they benefit the team in competition, just to give you a little overview. I've taught several courses as well. Beyond just this course, I teach a sports economics course. I've taught sports marketing in the past. I've taught sports law. I've taught research methods at the graduate level as well. So that's just a little bit of my own background personally. I'll pull up a quick photo here. You can see we were somewhat recently in San Francisco, and you see a picture of my family there, my wife. And I have 2 daughters and a son, so keeps me pretty busy when I'm not at work, running around chasing those kids. So LinkedIn is a great tool to use. If you're not familiar with it, you might check it out. It's a free service. It's kind of like Facebook, only more professional in nature. You build a profile that's sort of like a resume. We just looked at my profile here. But why you might be particularly interested in it is because we host a group on LinkedIn. So if I click on this work session, and when I say we, I mean NKU Sports Business. So if you're interested in working in sports, or if you're a sports business major or not a major and interested in possibly working in sports in the future, I would encourage you to fill out a LinkedIn profile. And then once you do that, you click on this work tab and you click on groups here, and you can join our LinkedIn group. Click on my groups here. You'll have to do a search. I've already joined the group, and I'm one of the managers of sports business at Northern Kentucky University. I'm going to click on that, and you will see we have quite a few members in the group. Most of the members of our group are either current students, such as yourself, alumni who have been students in the past, or people involved in sports business in our region, right, all around Cincinnati. Many have been guest speakers in our classes. But the reason that you might be particularly interested, besides the networking purpose, is that we will post jobs or internship opportunities to this group. And this is a great way for you to have access to that. And just scrolling down at this time, you can see Jenny Gardner is a professor and the director of our program at NKU Sports Business. Some of you might also have her for class. You can see she posts most of the positions here. You can see I posted a spot. This for a graduate student opportunity, a paid position as a graduate student, or tuition paid plus a stipend, Tennessee. But you can see lots of jobs posted here, several at UC. Here's just an informational article. There's one at Xavier, right? Here's an unpaid internship at the tennis tournament up in Mason that I posted. So you could get some idea of how this might be a good group to join and be a part of. So that's LinkedIn, not required for our class, but something that I thought many of you might be interested in. Also, if you are on Twitter, you can follow our sports business program. It's NKU Sports BUS is our handle on Twitter, where we will also occasionally post some jobs, although given the nature of Twitter, we prefer to post most of them to LinkedIn, where we can provide a bit more information. So that is myself in a nutshell. Relating to that, I am certainly interested in who you are. And a lot of our course is going to be talking about actually the first unit or module that we go through. We'll talk a lot about social identity and how in our own identity we attach ourselves to certain groups in society that gives other people an idea of who exactly we are. And sometimes those groups are sports groups or career groups or religious groups, political groups, family groups or cultural groups. So there's many group affiliations that we use to describe to others who we are and to kind of find our place in the world. So as a first assignment, I'd like you to pause this video for just a few minutes, hit the pause button, and get out a piece of paper and a pen if you don't have one out already. And I want you to actually write down in 25 words or less who you are. So 25 words, go ahead and pause the video now and take the time to do that, because then I'm going to ask you to do something with that description. All right, so once you've got those 25 words written down as to who you are, I am going to, you know what, we're going to start the next session with that 25-word description of who you are. So that's it for now, and we will pick this up in the next video.